Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. Shut up, Cameron. I'm talking. I am the host here. Taking my title and everything back. I'm taking it all back. I'm quoting Goonies. I'm trying to say I am your host again, and Cameron is not the host. Even though we tried that, and it was a failed experiment on the worst episode of Futro Hidden Movie Gems that we ever hosted, doing the movie Soul. Wasted. Cameron, you did a good job. I went back and listened to the episode. It was fun to listen to an episode. That's what it must feel like when I'm not on. You guys are able to speak because I talk too much. Today,
you said it, not me.
Today we are discussing Inglourious. This movie, you may know a little bit about this film. Came out in 2009. And it stars, we can't forget the director and writer, Quentin Tarantino, a little independent filmmaker. Maybe you've heard of him.
Are you going to introduce everybody or just get right into it?
Oh.
Amateur hour? I'm the real host, son. You can say your favorite quote.
We have failed host Cameron Mickle. Cameron Mickle.
You just say bingo.
You just say bingo. Bingo. Fun. All right. We've got Jordan Christensen.
Oh, there's so many good quotes. I don't know which one to do. Gosh dang it. I'll just say hello for now.
Tres glasses.
Jordan, go.
All right. No one. Yeah,
no, I just said hello. I couldn't think of a quote.
There's so many. Just overloaded his brain.
Most of the quotes are in French anyway, so we can't. There's no way to quote it, French or German.
Hey, I quoted German. I probably didn't do it right. And
I was going to quote the thing, but I was like, oh, shoot, like, that's not a good line to quote. But when the girl interrupts, when the stakes are starting to get heightened, and all of a sudden the girl tries to cut in, he goes, shut up, slut. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, things got real. Oh, my gosh. I love that part, because, like, he gets so intense. Oh,
Bridget
he's like...
von Hammersmark. Shut up, slut.
That... I just love it. He's like, that makes two of us. Oh my gosh. Anyways, all right, keep going.
Funny, because I've had my pistol trained at your this entire That's what I was gonna say. Hey, and we are joined by first-time guest Matt Knutson.
Hello, that is me.
Welcome onto the podcast.
Am I supposed to say a quote as well?
If you don't, we will
That's
automatically
optional.
ban you for life on this podcast.
Okay, then when Hitler goes 99999. That's the best part.
Or how everybody says, this is the greatest film of all time. Oh, this is your finest work. Oh, I love that, dude. Oh my gosh.
That's a master.
It's so funny. All right, so we're going to get into this movie. We are reviewing Inglourious. This movie came out in 2009, directed by Quentin Tarantino, written by Quentin Tarantino. Stars Brad Pitt and Melanie Laurent, Christoph Waltz, Eli Roth, Michael Fassbender, Diane Kruger, Daniel Bruhl, Till Schweiger, Gaten Burkhardt, Jackie Ido, BJ Novak, Omar Doom, August Dale, Dennis Michonet, and Sylvester Groth. It's got so many cast members. Holy cow, this movie is packing. It stars Brad Pitt. It has Michael Fassbender. It has so many people.
Did you know Quentin Ty reached out to Adam Sandler to be the part of Eli Roth, to be the bear? Is it called the Bear Jew? Who's the guy that beats him in the faces?
Adam Sandler, yeah, the Bear Jew.
Do you know that Melanie Laurent, she actually writes music as well? She's got an album.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah. I gotta
say,
it was weird. I listened to her music before.
What a delightful actress.
I listened to her music before I
terrifying.
even seen the movie. It's whack.
No way.
Yeah, it's just like some piano instrumentals, but kind of weird.
That's sick. Yeah, that's actually funny that because Quentin Tarantino was thinking for a while that he wasn't even going to make the movie because it took him 10 years to write the script, but then he couldn't find anyone to play Christoph Waltz or like Christoph Waltz's role as Colonel Hans Landa. And so as soon as he found Christoph Waltz, as soon as he auditioned, he was like, okay, we can do this.
Okay, we can do this.
Well, it's like quintessential. That he is seriously, him and Brad Pitt are like my two favorite. Goodness gracious.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I love it. So we're gonna get into what was it like watching this movie for the first time, and what was it like rewatching it for the podcast. Let's start with you, Jordan.
Oh, okay. So the first time I saw it in theaters. When I saw the trailer for this movie, which this is actually in the top teasers of all time, easily. And not trailer, the teaser. Teaser's amazing. I showed this to my ex, and she was like, "Well, I think you'll like it." She did not look thrilled to watch it at all. She just rolled her eyes and said, "Boys." And I mean, I watched, I think this was my first Quentin Tarantino movie in the theater. And when I saw it in the theater, like, everyone was laughing so hard. And I actually walked in the first time thinking it was a documentary until they started shooting up Hitler's face. And that's when I'm like, wait a minute.
Dude,
that's not right.
Is that what happened?
I mean, but you watch the opening scene, you're like, this could happen. Like, anyways. Really good movie.
You watch the opening scene where a Nazi hunter or a Nazi Jew hunter kills a few Jews, and you're like, oh, I think that happened, right?
No, you know what I mean. But most historical movies are based on true stories, are they not? So I just thought this was one of those. But Quentin likes to take his own liberties with history and rewrite it however he wants.
for sure.
And I'm so glad he did, because this...
Once upon a time in Hollywood.
You joke?
You joke?
I know. Well, that's why I thought Once Upon a Time too. I'm like, I didn't know it was going to be... I thought it was going to be based on a true story as well. Anyways.
Well, yeah, isn't that funny? He could still say based on a true story, but it's like, but I just wrote my own ending because real life sucks. That's Tarantino.
Anyway,
It's
continue.
fine, Jan. Get it?
Shut.
I don't know if you guys seen that interview with Tarantino.
I
on
saw
that
Greatest
that.
interview of all
ridiculous
time.
hat. Yeah. Don't you have extreme violence in your movies? It's fun. Get it, Jan? Dude, Tarantino, man, he's on
love
a
Jordan.
space alien that came
Oh,
down
and
to
then
make good
just
films.
sorry, I'm dragging this out. And then just watching it this time, by the end, I actually cried, and not because it's an emotional movie, but because I was like, this is a perfect film. It makes me, because sometimes when I watch such trashy movies on like Netflix and stuff, I'm like, I hate my life. I hate every movie. And then all of a sudden I watch this and I'm like, movies are still okay. So.
There's still good movies out there. Oh man, I watched this the first time in college, and I remember thinking, like, I saw the teaser that Jordan's describing, and it was like, we're killing Nazis, and I'm like, it's gonna be Brad Pitt murdering Nazi after Nazi after Nazi. And then I remember watching the movie, and I remember like 30 or 40 minutes in, I was like, all I've seen is like 8 Jews like murdered savagely under the floorboards. Like, where's all the Nazi killing? I remember having that thought in college. I was like, I tuned in for some Nazi killing, and there hasn't been any, And then like a few started happening a little later on, and then I remember thinking, I don't get this movie. Like, I think they were walking around in the cinema, and I was like, there's a lot of subtitles. I didn't know there was gonna be reading, and dude, it failed to reach me for some reason. But I do remember thinking that I liked a lot of parts about it, but I remember thinking in small part I was disappointed from what I had watched, like movies like Reservoir Dogs before seeing this, and thinking like, this is going to be a high stakes World War II drama noir thing. This is like a suspense movie, if I can label it that. It's like a drama suspense, and that's what blew me away.
Satire.
Reservoir Dogs has moments. Satire, yeah. Well, that's the crazy deeper meaning, right? And we can get into that, but which is why I guess Tarantino thinks of me as Hitler, because I went in to watch this movie hoping that Nazis would get murdered, and I'm just like Hitler watching the glorious what's the movie, Great Nation or whatever it's called,
Nation's Pride.
Nation's Pride,
where Hitler's just sitting there getting his watching this sniper shoot millions of Americans, and he's just like, this is great, just laughing hysterically at like people being shot. Anyway, I guess Tarantino, that's how he views me. I was just a young kid, though, to my defense. So, anyway. Didn't know what I was getting in for, you know? Like, why else would I tune in to watch a movie called Inglourious about Nazi killing? Thought it was a cool thing to do. And then I'm like, oh, like, the movie's, like, a really deep and thoughtful piece of literature that puts a hard mirror at the people that went and saw it. So, really cool. How about you, Cameron? What was it like watching this movie for the first time and rewatching it for this podcast?
We can do math.
I enjoyed. Sorry, real quick. I enjoyed it much more on subsequent viewings, and you can get a lot more deeper meaning. But I love this movie even more every time I watch it. So
Yes.
wow, it's great. How about you, Kim?
Okay, first time I ever watched this was, I think it was in 2017, and this movie has this really special place in my heart because I credit this movie to, it sparked the desire to, like, want to find more good film, because before this I used to always just watch like to put in perspective, and like in high school I enjoyed Transformers 3. Like, all I wanted to watch movies for was just, like, for action and just enjoying
Cameron, I'm afraid we're going to get canceled, okay? You should watch what you say on the podcast,
and so,
all right?
like, I used to just watch pretty much whatever I thought was the most action and most entertaining. And then after I watched this movie, I remember telling Jordan for the first time, I was like, I loved that movie, but I don't know why I loved it so much. And then he was just like, it's just because it's really well written and it's good film. And then he recommended a couple videos for me to watch. And so once I understood why I loved it so much, it just, Jordan can attest, like, from that day on, I stopped caring about sports, and all I wanted to do was just fetch and watch movies and find more movies like this film.
Well, it was from the YouTube Nerd Writer and Every Frame of Painting that you were like, oh my gosh, there's more to film than just, pure visuals.
And so that...
R.I.P. Every Frame of Painting. Greatest YouTube channel that ever existed. Long live.
And so this movie has a special place in my heart because it's pretty much the reason why I'm even a part of this movie podcast. So I love this film, and then I watched it last semester, like I think a couple months ago, and then I rewatched it again today with my roommates, and oh my gosh, aside from like 2-second like weird scene, this movie is like pretty tame on all aspects except for like language and violence, and it is the most entertaining thing ever.
Tame, Cameron? Tame?
Yeah, I said on all aspects except
swastika and someone's
that's why I said
forehead.
violence.
Very tame.
Okay.
Okay.
I said
Did you forget the guy getting beat to death with a bat?
Why does it sound so
I have to
funny to
look
hear
away
Cameron
at that
say
scene.
tame? He's like, it's tame except for the gratuitous violence and language.
Okay, well, it's not that tame, but I absolutely love this film. Just rewatching
We're just
it
giving
again
you a hard time.
just made me appreciate it even that much more. Just Quentin Tarantino, he's just amazing. Oh, the cinematography, everything just combines into an amazing film. Just enjoyed it that much more rewatching it.
Awesome. And how about you, Matt? What was it like watching it for the first time and rewatching it for the podcast?
Well, the first time that I watched it, it was like right when I was getting into movies, really getting to like, intellectual movies and thinking about movies. And so it was about the same time that I watched Blade Runner. And these two movies, I didn't really get it. Like, I was like, I don't know what I was supposed to take away from that movie. Because, like, with Blade Runner, I was like, I have no idea. And after I watched like a lot of YouTube videos and stuff and explaining about, this movie talks about, what it's like to really be human and stuff like that. Anyway, going off on a different movie, but this was kind of like the same thing for me. I was like, I have no idea what I just pulled from that movie. Like, I don't, there was nothing for me to grasp. I was just like, I just didn't get it because I thought I clicked on the movie thinking that it was going to be, a good old, maybe a war movie and something like that, maybe with like an underlying theme like war is bad. But in the opening scene, I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And then all of a sudden, like, it just turned into some weird historical imagination thing. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. So that was definitely a bummer. I was like, I don't really like that movie that much. And then after, I continued, I watched some more YouTube videos and stuff like that. trying to understand a little bit more of things, and I came on some videos about this, and then that's where I started to learn a little bit more, like, oh, there are some different things, and then I gave it another watch later on. But this time around, I saw things that I didn't that I hadn't really seen before. I think it was like my third or fourth time watching the movie, and every time I pick out a little bit more, and it just kind of meant so much more to me that Quentin Tarantino really pulls in. He gets so much detail in every shot that sometimes you don't even recognize it. For example, the SS officer that shoots them up in the bar. I didn't notice that he was the officer that brought Emanuela or Shoshana to lunch with Frederick Zoller. I was like,
I didn't catch that either until this viewing for some reason.
That was the first time, like, I noticed that last night. I was like, oh my gosh. So it's just like every time I watch it again, it's just there's so much more detail and things like that, and I just appreciate it so much more for what it is.
That's great. Love it. Thanks for sharing. So we're going to go around and say two of our favorite things real quick. Anyone that's tuning in that hasn't seen this movie, just a quick plot synopsis. In Nazi-occupied France during World War II, a plan to assassinate Nazi leaders by a group of Jewish U.S. soldiers coincides with the theater owner's vengeful plans for the same. And holy cow, does this movie culminate into like the craziest climax, which is weird because even building up to it, there's like 3 or 4 moments of absolute sheer terror and suspense all throughout. This whole movie, like I said, is just, it's almost Hitchcockian in the way like Alfred Hitchcock would have been like, I feel like he would have had ulcers or his heart would have given out watching a movie this stressful. Like, I've seen Hitchcock films and they get stressful, but not like this movie. Somehow this movie is probably one of the most intense movies. And even like you said, after a while you forget you're not watching a historical drama. It's like, this is just my own imagining, but it's like, how has this managed to be just as stressful as like World War? I mean, like, kudos to Tarantino.
Quentin talks about this in
an
interview. He says that his favorite thing to do is just stretching out the tension of a scene like a rubber band. He said just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling until it snaps. And he says, I try to see how long I can pull it out.
And that's what he did exactly at the opening scene.
Yeah, opening scene, and also the basement tavern. Oh my gosh, what's so crazy about that is last night, right before I was going to bed, it was right when Sergeant, or I don't know what his, was it Major Hellstrom, the evil Nazi guy. He just shows up. He's like, one moment. He goes, I find your accent very peculiar too. And he stands up and walks into the other room, turns off the megaphone, and walks in, sits down. Like, I think it was at that moment my wife was like, well, let's just finish this scene. And I was like, my wife has no idea that this scene is like 25 minutes long. We're never going to go to bed on time. That was my thought while we were watching this. So loved it. And holy cow. So that is one of my favorite things. The scenes of tension that Tarantino is able to build. And I think that works best because you know so much about your characters. A lot of them are two-dimensional. A lot of them have aliases and personal vendettas that are very specific to their characters and to the protagonist versus the antagonist. It's just incredibly done. I love this movie. And
that's my favorite introduction.
Yes.
Dude, and I love your work, you know. We think that you're pretty darn good at killing Nazis, but
you're an amateur.
How'd you like to be? You're an amateur.
To become
How'd you like
pro?
To pro?
A classic.
My gosh. So, and then my second favorite thing is, everyone is doing 110%. No one sticks out to me like a poor player, except I will say Michael Myers. For some reason, I don't know why he's in this film, but you know.
But I love seeing him, dude. I say give every big actor a cameo.
Yeah,
that was great.
And in the end, I'm not like upset. It's like the weirdest thing where I'm like, I don't believe that that's Michael Myers.
Yeah, me too. The first time I saw it, I'm like, why does he look like Mike Myers?
why is he in this movie? I don't know. But in
I
the
think
end,
it's about as relevant as having Samuel L. Jackson be like do the voiceover. I'm like,
yeah,
everyone's like, whose voice is that? I'm like, Samuel L. Jackson.
Dude, that's Samuel Jackson, dude. That's unmistakably Samuel L. Man. I love that, and so those are my two favorite things: the moments of suspension, and then everyone is performing, and everyone is just. I mean, I'm blown away with
Tearing
how
up the
well
scene.
everyone works. Like which is so surprising that you have two such strong A and B plots, but both of them coincide for the biggest, clash. That they both have a similar goal in mind, and it just works so darn well. So I'm just amazed, and I'm also amazed at how much better it gets with each viewing. So those are my two.
Well, I
things.
think with like Brad Pitt's side, you got all the humor, and then with the other side, the tension, and it's just like when they keep flipping back and forth because every scene, that poor Jewish girl, everything she had to endure, like goodness gracious,
Yeah.
and talking about introductions, every introduction, like especially when he's like, oh, Commander, all of a sudden that music starts, and then it pans up and he's standing right behind her, and then she has that flashback where he's like, I forget the word.
Shoshana.
Yes, like that music though, like suddenly your heart's racing and then she's like ready to go and he's like, wait a minute, I want to speak to you, and you're like, oh no, this is
Let me
bad.
order
Then ask for a
toaster
glass of
strudel.
milk.
And then order her a glass of milk, and then have her get a pastry, and then say, wait for the cream. Freaking stresses
Well,
me
and
out.
then he looks at her so intensely and then says, I forgot what I was going to ask
Must
you.
not have been important.
And you're just like, oh my gosh, goodness gracious. Talk about the greatest intimidator. And then, oh,
So is that
so good.
Is that your first one, Jordo?
Christoph Waltz.
Oh, are
dude.
we already
I
talking
know-
about it?
I know Jordan loves Christoph Waltz, man. Our boy.
Yeah, I mean, yes, obviously my two favorite parts are Christoph Waltz, and then on the other side you got Brad Pitt. Two best performances I've ever seen in my life.
See, correcto.
Gordon Lummy.
Dude, no one, like, that's kind of just leading into mine as well. Like, my favorite part is so much acting is done. Like, the dialogue is fantastic, and there's amazing score, and the cinematography is obviously ridiculous. But so much acting is done without the usage of words that, like, it's so fantastic. Like, I love, you can just tell how lost Brad Pitt is. And like in the scene where he's just sitting there just looking up in the air, like you could totally tell he has no idea what is going on. And yeah, that's going into mind. Brad Pitt, his performance is just it sets him apart from the rest of other actors. It's the reason why he's one of my favorite actors of all time. And it's funny because this is the first film I ever saw him where he wasn't playing like I think the first movie I ever saw him in was in World War Z, and
Ocean's
and I
11.
was not, or Ocean's 11, and I was like, he's good, but like not amazing. And I saw him
You just thought he was a pretty face and you couldn't take him seriously.
yeah, and then I see him in this, and every
And
single
Burn After Reading, dude.
Burn
yeah,
After
Burn
Reading.
After Reading, and then also in Fight Club. Everything like every single line of dialogue in this movie.
Oh, Cameron, have you seen Snatch? Real quick,
No,
you should watch
He's good in that one,
Snatch,
too, yeah.
directed by Guy Ritchie with Brad Pitt. Just kudos to Brad Pitt. You don't even recognize him, and you can't understand him. It's so good. Watch Snatch. That's a great
Okay.
film.
and so because there's every line of dialogue that Brad Pitt gives is just his accent, the things he says is just so funny. Business is
Yes.
a booming. We're in the Nazi killing business. Just everything he says, like this Nazi wants to die for country. Oblige him. The things he says is just like, I just love it. And then my second favorite thing is just kind of, you guys have already mentioned it a little bit, just the attention to detail of everything. Like one scene that like for me a lot of directors don't do, or they do too much of. Like a perfect example, after she has that the Mademoiselle has that super intense, stressful encounter with the SS officer. Like you see him walk away, and then she just like expresses that emotion of just that anxiety and fear, and you see that for like 2-3 seconds, and then it cuts away. But that's honestly all you need to see, because that's what like otherwise I would have been like, there's no way she would have remained that calm. But then you see like how stressful it is for her, how like she's like all that pent up like anger probably towards him, and just little things like that. And I was really glad how everyone kind of suffered consequences, how like almost nobody's got off scot-free. It reminds me of Game of Thrones, where people would just die left and right. And you're like, oh no, I loved Hugo Stitlitz. And you're like, well, he's dead now. And I was like, but he was so dope. And it's like, that's how war is. Just Quentin's a master, man. Holy cow. I could go on for days about all of my favorite things.
How about you, Matt? What are two of your favorite things from this film?
One of my favorite things is the authenticity. There's an interview of Quentin talking about, when he was making this movie, and I think it's one of the reasons why he picked Christoph Waltz as well. But he was trying to get the actors to do it in English, but he wasn't feeling that same emotion. They were all speaking. I think they were all French or German actors. The people that he wanted that were speaking, and they weren't able to get that emotion that he wanted. And so he was like, we're it's going to be a lot of work, but we're gonna make them speak their own languages. And so that's why it's for the most part it's subtitles. But it really draws you into the story. It makes you feel like you're there, even though you have to read it. It does switch. Like everyone speaks their own language that they're supposed to when talking to people of that country. Frenchmen talk to French in French, Germans talk in German, and English. Americans speak in English, and same with the British. It's just very, very coordinated, and it's really just the authenticity really is. It just brings you in the moment that you enter the movie. I was watching it, and my fiance she fell asleep halfway, actually, for the most part of the movie, but at the beginning of the scene, I had to assure her, the beginning of the movie, I was like, don't worry, the whole movie isn't in German or in French. There is some English, but I think it just makes the movie that much more real, and you really get drawn into the movie. The second thing that I love is how much mainly like the generals and the officers, they're very, it's kind of hard to articulate, but they've got these ways of showing that they're ahead and making them like feel comfortable. And then Quentin Tarantino, the moment that you're least expecting it, he like shows that they really do know everything, and it's perfectly shown perfectly in the opening scene, where you think he gets comfortable, he starts slipping into French and saying because he's comfortable, he smokes his pipe because he's comfortable, and you see him sit back because he's comfortable, and then all of a sudden Londa drops a bomb and's like, I know that you're hiding Jews, and then and that happens
harboring
throughout
enemies of the state under your floorboards.
Exactly. And that kind of thing happens all the time, even in the bar scene, happens with Londa again multiple times. Even Aldo Rain, he also when he's interrogating the Germans, asking where they are, where he's got where they've got men, he also uses these tactics, and it makes it. I just feel like it's so well thought out. Quentin Tarantino really is. I mean, I know he took 10 years to make this movie, but he thought of everything. His dialogue is so realistic in this movie, and just so amazingly perfect that I love it. I just can't get myself to not focus when I'm watching this movie, even when it is, just dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you said, though, Matt, about language. I honestly think language plays one of the biggest key parts of not only the plot, but also the character relationships to each other. Because language comes up like 3 or 4 times. One, it actually gives Fassbender away, who's kind of the go-lucky agent for America. He's like gung-ho, and he's like, I got all this. And then he shows up to Bridget von
He's British.
Hammersmark.
He's British.
Right. Well, he's British, but he's speaking in German, pretending to be a soldier, and then he shows up there, and they're all like, "I don't recognize your accent. Like, what part of Germany are you from?" And they just find him out right away. And he was so cocky talking to, he just came off as pretty arrogant and like, I know what to do. And he's telling, his friend Stiglitz, he's like, hey, I need you to be calm in there, And in the end, he's like, they found me out. Hey, could you help me out here, Stiglitz? Like,
You
do you know what to do now? And he blows it, say goodbye to your Nazi phone.
You know what's really ironic about that scene? Like, that's what Quentin Tarantino, he's even like a master, because that scene is just laced with irony, because Michael Fassbender is actually German. So his native language is actually German, and he moved to England to learn English. So he's actually playing the reverse role of himself. So that's what's super funny when they're like, that's such a strange dialect of German, because he's genuinely making fun of Fassbender in the way he speaks German, because he thinks it sounds funny. And so that's what I think is really ironic in the scene, because he's speaking perfect German, but they're just making fun of him what's his name? Quentin's making fun of his German.
And what's so impressive too is Christoph Waltz. I mean, when he comes in, this is an Austrian actor. He comes in speaking French, and he's like,
Italian.
I'm exhausted. And that's one of my favorite reveals, and that's such a great plot. See, and again, it's all about the language, right? Because what's so great is he's talking to him, and he goes, I've exhausted the extent of my French. And he's speaking so eloquently and so beautifully. And you're like, he is dancing circles around this guy. He already believes that he's harboring Jews. Like, he's just, and he gets in there. He makes himself feel at home in this guy's house. He's overstaying his welcome. He's really even rude. And even the comparison of when he has his pipe out and he's smoking, he brings out this ridiculous, overblown, giant, it looks like a freaking conch shell,
compares Jews to rats.
Right. And he goes this whole thing, demonizing, trivializing Jews and their lives. And it's just all... And at the very end, where he's just like, am I assuming, and then when he does it, he's talking in English, and they're doing it so the Jews don't understand what he's talking about. And he goes, you're going to continue to play along with me, and he demands everyone to listen to him. And that's what I think is so great about Landa when he finally meets Aldo Rain, because the two of them are so good at what they do that they're again, protagonist and antagonist. It's such a great combo. And then even Melanie Laurent, go ahead.
Just real quick, I just love how they, in scenes where the person in the scene isn't supposed to understand the dialogue, they don't put subtitles. Because that's I love it. Because for example, when you first meet Mademoiselle, and then the German officer is talking to the war hero, you have no idea what she's saying. The subtitles
aren't there. See, I thought that same thing.
What's happening? And so she's like, what's happening? Some dude just randomly walked up to the guy who's kind of trying to scheme on me, and just start speaking to him. So just little attention to detail.
Another guy comes in, hey, can I have your autograph? And you're like, okay, he starts getting the thing. And then I even love it when he's like, yeah, I'm a
good luck with your movie.
Zoller, this actor, they made a movie about me. And she's like, well, good luck with your movie. And he's just like, oh, no one can say no to me.
Yeah, at the end.
So self-absorbed. It's so good. Oh my gosh. But and okay, so they recognize Fassbender's accent. They also recognize customs when he gives the 3 sign. He uses his 3 fingers, American version, but you're supposed to do 3. That's a great thing. And also, again, you mentioned it, Matt, one of the greatest plot obstacles that our protagonist has to overcome is when their plan has now been ruined, Fassbender's dead, they have to go in impersonating Italians to get into this movie premiere to bomb it and destroy these Nazi generals and the Fuhrer himself. So they get there, and he goes, I speak the most Italian. And
Donnie
he speaks the
second
most. And then he speaks third most, and he goes, I don't speak Italian. I said third most.
He's like,
in fact, why don't you shut your mouth? Why don't you shut your mouth and start practicing right now? Speak less of it or something like that. It's so funny. And that's when you just get so hopeless. You're like, I can't believe they're not going to pull this off. And that's the tension. You're you already had one failed mission, and you're too deep. You're just gonna have to go with it. And
it's perfect because Quentin gives you the false sense of hope, where she's like, that actually might work out because no one has a good ear for Italian, and then it freaking works out. Christoph Waltz speaks fluent Italian. You're like, oh my god,
he goes in and he just goes off
and toying with them. He's like, repeat it one more time for me. Say it again for me.
Try again. Gorlami. Yeah.
And then the 2 other guys, they absolutely kill it. Dominic De Coco.
The one guy that can't speak Italian is the one that got it.
Yeah, he's like, bravo.
He's like, bravo.
Oh, that's so good. And see, so yeah, I think the language actually becomes a character in this movie, but it drives the plot. It drives so much of the story. It's so good. I think
Grazie.
that's such a great thing you caught on there, Matt. I love that.
Well, I love too that Quentin can tell you about characters through regular dialogue and what kind of a character they are. Like when they're playing that game with the cards stuck to their heads, like you learn that officer is amazing at deducting his character. Like he's just like he figures out his character so quick, and you're like,
he's
oh
also
shoot, like,
witty. Like he says
Am I
a joke
slave?
about.
Oh my gosh!
Well, yeah, he's racist and he thinks he's funny. He's very clever, but then immediately after he's like, no, I knew I was King Kong. Like I was just making a joke out of even the fact that I already knew. Yeah, it's remarkable. I remember they said in an interview, where did he said he heard that from somewhere, but that's the first time I ever heard that. I thought that was super crazy how King Kong, because they've drawn parallels of King Kong is literally the blight of African Americans brought over to the U.S. I
Yeah.
was like, that's crazy. Like the similarities are astounding. It's pretty wild, taken. Anyway, that's a story for another time. But the fact that he brought it up there in the game, I was like, oh man, brought over against their will, brought in chains, put on display.
he's always putting golden nuggets in his thing.
He is, and he did something similar when he was talking about the meaning of like a virgin from the Madonna song or whatever.
Yeah.
In Reservoir Dogs, he does that, and Pulp Fiction when he talks about, well, I guess he talks about quarter pounder with cheese in France or whatever, but like he just has.
Well, he
these
made that up,
strange
though. I heard
yeah.
he made that
Oh
up.
yeah, he did make it up because the Royale with cheese doesn't exist. But anyway, it's just like, to me, I enjoy the fact that he can talk about very mundane things, but somehow it's so essential. Like one of my favorite video essays I watched about Pulp Fiction and all of his films is that Quentin Tarantino trivializes very significant events, and then he importantizes, if that's a word. He makes important things that are very trivial. So like our characters are obsessed. Like my favorite is the example of the watch in Pulp Fiction. Like Butch wants this watch so badly, and you find out it's a watch that his father wore up his butt, and then another comrade in the army wore it up his butt, and then he finally came to him. It's not really a watch that you even want, but it's so important to Butch that it literally drives the plot and his character. And he gets involved in like.
Well, don't be spoiling that. Cameron hasn't seen that.
You haven't seen Pulp Fiction, Cameron? Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't want to spoil anymore, but what I'm saying is Tarantino has this way of making things that are trivial seem so significant. Like the fact that they're playing the card game and they're talking about accents and the way they gesture the number 3. Those are so important to the plot, and you find out later why they're significant. And that's why I think he's such a great master of tension, is because you don't know what you're supposed to be fixated on. You're watching it and you're like, what's giving him away? Like, why won't these Germans just leave him alone? Like, why can't they just get out of this tavern? Get out of there. And they can't. They're trapped. And she's like, if we leave right now, they're going to suspect something. Like, we should order a drink first. And then this guy comes out of nowhere from the corner of the tavern. He's like, I've been listening to this whole time. You're just like, they're not going to get out of here alive.
And
It's
then
so
afterwards, she's
stressful.
like, I can see how if you didn't see what happened, that might sound odd. He's like, yeah, we got a word for that in English. It's called suspicious.
So
Well,
I
and
don't
just-
have any nitpicks. Does anyone have any nitpicks before we get right into quotes?
I do, but I love though that every time what he does is as soon as the suspension, to keep the suspension going, he gives you a second of hope, and then he takes it away really quick. Like,
Yes.
I love when he's like after they get really intense, and he's like, I'm not a guest. Well, he's like, why should I stay at this table? Unless she tells me to leave,
Unless Bridget asked me to leave, I'm
yeah,
not
and it
chosen.
starts to, the tensions are high, and then he's like, I'm just kidding, I know I'm intruding. And then he's like, oh, I just want to buy you one last drink. And just when you think, okay, finally, and then he sees the 3. Anyway, so I just thought that was really cool. It's like tensions are built, hope is given, tensions are built back up again.
Yeah, he's taking
And then
it away
all-
from me, man.
Yeah, and then all hope is gone.
then everyone dies.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
Say how
it's,
beat is it?
you know what's crazy? That scene is like a 23-second shootout or
Yes.
something like that. And that was like a 35-minute scene of tension.
Yeah.
And it was
Yes.
all released in like 27 seconds. It was so crazy.
I
And then there
loved-
was more
I love
tension
watching this-
with
sorry.
him and with what's
Yeah,
his name,
Brad Pitt and
and
Max's dad.
Yeah, like it wasn't like super tense, but like,
Yeah, it's still not even over, right? And then it's a hostage negotiation.
This is
at
a
the end,
Mexican
and then
standoff. No, it's only when you have guns pointed at me. He's like, they got grenades up there. That's a Mexican standoff.
I love watching this with Cameron because, I've watched it with a lot of friends. It's really fun to watch it with people because Cameron was laughing hysterically when the guy stands up and just starts jamming the knife. Stiglitz starts jamming the knife into the guy's neck like overkill. Like the guy's already dead, but he's still.
I love it because
just
everyone's dead
stabbing
on the
him.
ground. You just see his like head just like stapled to the table with a knife. Oh my gosh, so over the top.
Oh, so
So
funny.
let's get into nitpicks or something. You said you had one, Jordan.
I have one.
Just
Yeah,
just one. Nick told me I watched this with. Did not like this movie at all. Maybe I should just cut out his name, but he's German, so it's just like he finds this very like harsh and mean to Germans. Obviously,
No, but not Germans, just Nazis, man.
that's what I said. I told him because Stiglitz, right? He's German.
Kicks butt, dude. He's like a hero.
Yeah,
in
he's
this
awesome.
movie.
He's my favorite.
He's the most bad A character, dude.
Yeah. Well, he just likes maybe like Schindler's List better. Oh, he pointed out that he's like there's no way in heck Hitler would have only had 2 guards outside his door. He's like, there's not a chance.
No,
That's
fair. But they get punched with a wrist
that scene
pistol,
is so
which
sick.
is so cool.
Dude, I love the scene where he's like,
I got 15
he's like, you gotta go
seconds. You gotta
like
get to the
30
other
feet,
guy.
yeah, in like 6 seconds.
30
Can you
feet.
do? He's like, I have to.
I have to.
But my one, honestly, it's like the tiniest nitpick. I just thought the one time I laughed, like when I know I shouldn't have, was when she was putting on her makeup and she did this. Like I know it was trying to be like the I'm getting like my war paint,
No,
getting
that's
ready
supposed
for
to be
war.
funny.
Dude,
I think that's supposed to be
that
funny.
was super. I thought it was really cringy. I was like, I don't know. I was not feeling it for her character.
Dude, I don't know about you, but when she comes on, I got goosebumps when she's like, I have a message for all the freaking Nazis or whatever.
No, when she's laughing and
Oh my
it's
gosh.
in the fog, you can still see her laughing
And then
after
they're
the
just-
fire went.
And he's just making Swiss cheese out of Hitler's face.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, that was.
That scene
pretty
always makes me
horrifying.
laugh.
Art.
I think there's 3 scenes. Even though I know they're coming, I laugh hysterically. It's when he asks her where is she what happened to her leg, and she tells him she fell mountain climbing, and he
laughs.
bursts out laughing. Like that
Dude.
gets me every time.
Dude, and also, dude, the scene that makes me
climbing.
laugh every single time after he beats his head, like the bear Jew just beats the crap out of one of them, and then he's like, ask him where
Yes,
where the
that's the
soldiers
other
are,
part.
and he like points immediately to the map, and all of them start laughing.
Points immediately to the mouth. That's great. I even love the camera work too.
Yeah, the
where he does
cinematography.
Brad Pitt,
Boom,
translator, German
So
to
good.
translator to Brad Pitt. I love that. I think
So
that's really
good.
fun.
Quentin's
So
so
good.
good, dude.
That's really fun.
Can
Yeah,
we get-
Dude, I was gonna
Nick-
say one of my favorite scenes too is at the very end when you find out Landa's whole plot and you're like, this guy's playing 4D chess. I mean, he's like so far above. I mean, like, why isn't he the Fuhrer himself? Like, I mean, he
For
should
real.
be the number one. He is playing 4D chess. He's got, and you wonder how long did he know about Shoshana and knew about the whole plight against the Fuhrer, showing up at the theater, knowing that it was going to be bombed or they were going to be killed, did nothing to stop it. And he's playing, he's like, I'm going to be a war criminal. I'm not going to be held against a Jewish tribunal and be tried for my war crimes. So he's like, I'm going to become an American citizen, and I'm going to like.
I
it's
was
like,
in on it
holy
all
crap.
along. I was undercover.
Yeah, and he
all
goes,
along.
I want history to be written as though I was originally a double agent. And you're like,
Well,
unbelievable.
You'll be
You know what? I
shot
didn't
for
catch-
this. Nah, I've
You
been
know what?
chewed
I
out.
didn't catch
I've been
this.
chewed out before.
I've been cheated before.
Well,
no.
and like you said, he is so smart. I didn't actually catch it for some reason the first 2 times, but this time watching it, I didn't catch that he slid the dynamite under Hitler's seat.
Yes.
Like he was,
Yep.
he's like, he wanted to make sure if this is going to happen, I'm going to make sure it happens.
He made sure of it.
He's
Yep.
like, that
Yeah.
last part's actually true.
Yeah. he's like, and then I ensured the death of the Fuhrer himself. And he's like, that part is actually true. Yeah, and it shows him sliding the freaking stick right under his chair. You're like, oh
But I
my
didn't think
gosh.
I didn't realize it was him. I thought it was Eli Roth, them sliding it under their seats so they could go up to the top.
No, and
They
that's
did
what,
have,
and that's
they
what,
did have dynamite in their feet though too. They had dynamite
Yeah.
in their chairs.
and that's what's
as
so
well.
great too is like Quentin gives you like the false not only false hope at times but also like false tension where you see Christoph Waltz lean over and then he's like, I told the Fuhrer that everyone's in their seats, and he's like, oh, thank you so much. and then he walks away. Because you think in that moment he's gonna tell them there's American soldiers here with bombs, but instead
we
he
need
just
to get out of here, evacuate.
Instead he just tells them
no,
everyone's in their seat.
he just assures them to stay put. It's so conniving. Yeah. And it goes back to the very opening scene. I mean, this whole movie, he's playing on a whole nother level, and he gets to dance.
Everyone.
And, or even, I mean, the
Except
craziest
Brad
part
Pitt,
where
baby.
I think no, but even then, he got bested, and it was only because, I mean, at the very end where they shoot the other soldier,
he didn't
surrender
predict,
to you unconditionally, and he just shoots the soldier, and he's just like, what are you doing? I'll have you shot for that.
BJ Novak's face, when he's just like scalping him or whatever, and he's like, "Do you think I could condone that?" And he's like, "No." He's like so casual. He's just like talking to him while he's just scalping a Nazi.
Oh, that brings me. Okay, so we're getting into quotes. One of my favorite lines is like when he's like, "Yeah, nickname's Jew Hunter." Jew Hunter. No. He's like, I am a detective or whatever. He goes, but Jew Hunter. That's just one of the nicknames that stuck. Like you, they call you the Apache, and you, they call the little man. And he's like,
they call me the
little man.
And I'm actually surprised that you're quite taller than what they thought.
I'm surprised you're taller. Yeah, then your reputation would precede me to think you're not comically small or anything. He's like, they call me the little man. BJ Novak, that's so funny, dude.
I love it.
Well, I love when Brad Pitt says, "No, I'll get chewed out. I've been chewed out before."
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And then also in the beginning when he's talking to the Nazi that like is gonna die for his country, and he's like, if you ever want to eat a sauerkraut sandwich again, like, you better tell me where them Nazis are at.
Put your wiener schnitzel looking finger on this map.
Oh
sauerkraut sandwich.
And another great scene is, it's so quick, and I always forget this scene, but I know it exists in the movie. I just forget where. After Bridget shows up to the movie theater, Christoph Waltz takes her into this own private room and then has her reach inside his coat pocket and pull out the shoe and puts the shoe on. And he's like, "What's the expression if the shoe fits?" And then she's just like, "What happens now?" And rather than negotiate, it's time to murder you. Like, out of nowhere. The sadistic killer, you find out that he's always been. He just gets up out of his chair and strangles her to death. It's like the most horrifying thing. But again, we've seen him do
it reminded
bad things.
It reminded me of the Nightcrawler reveal, honestly.
Yeah, like something set him off. Like he just, he's playing the 4D chess. He's like, you have to be out of the picture now. And what's so great also, I can't go without mentioning Shoshana's character. It's so sad because she has so much tension and everything is hinging on this premiere. And I guess my only nitpick was I was surprised that her boyfriend that owns the theater with her, he was willing to die for this cause. I don't know. I'm just kind of surprised at that. That's all.
I don't know. I think everybody was willing to die. Like they all had that dynamite strapped to their legs. I'm like, oh crap, they're ready to go to kill Hitler.
That's what one of my roommates actually while we were watching it. Because I was talking about how I think it's like awesome how they were willing to like do whatever it takes, even costing their lives or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, I would definitely going with dynamite strapped to my legs to kill a bunch of Nazis." But the way he said, he's like to kill a bunch of racist, like bigoting Nazis. I was like, okay, man. Like,
well, especially if you knew Hitler was there. My favorite scene is when Eli Roth and the Dominic DeCoco guy, they're walking down and they looking around the theater and seeing all the people.
Like
That's
kid in
one
a
of the
candy
best
shop.
scenes.
They're like, oh my gosh, like everybody's here. I love too the part where that's when you can already see Quentin Tarantino starting to allude to like the what I think the overall message is of patriotism is like savagery to foreigners. Is the part where what's his name, Friedrich Zoller is talking to what's her name, the Mimir girl,
Shoshana.
He talks to her and he says, "I'm more than just a uniform," and then she says, "Not to me." And I think that's super interesting. It's kind of talking about she's like automatically making an assumption on this person, and like the entire film you're kind of leading to be like, oh yeah, he actually is like a good guy or whatever. And then that moment of like you see his true nature when he's like, no one says no to me. Like there's 300 like Americans who are dead that can tell you that, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is scary too. And then she's like, all right, close the door, bang bang.
Oh yeah, well, and that's crazy too because he acts like he's all upset about the movie, right? I got PTSD, and it's like, no, he just wanted to go flirt with them chick,
Yeah.
That's it. Like, He's not upset about this, dude. He's just upset that he's not actively killing someone right now. Freaking sociopath, man.
Yeah.
So we pretty much said any other quotes you guys wanted to throw out there?
I love the introduction of Aldo Rain. He's like, now I'm a direct descendant of Jim Bridger. That means I got a little engine in me. And he's just like, now every one of you, when you enter into Michael, man, you enter in a debit you owe me 100 Nancy scalps, and I will have my scalps. Dude, that whole scene is just so funny. It just shows who he is perfectly, and the quotes are just amazing. Oh, I could quote those forever.
That's the thing. Every single scene in this movie, it just has quotes where like there's literally too many quotes in this movie to like hit them all. There's just so many good one-liners that you're like laughing. It's the point where I know when a show is really funny when I have to rewind sometimes because I'm mad at myself because I'm laughing and I can't hear what they're saying next, and I'm like, oh frig, I go back and then I laugh at like the same thing. Because like and kind of like Matt was saying, when they introduce Aldo Rain, like that's what Quentin does so good is like by using dialogue to explain just the complete personality of a person. Like when you meet Hugo Schlitz or whatever, and he's with Michael Fassbender, and then he's like sharpening the knife, and he's like, I don't look calm to you. Like, he's just, like, the creepiest thing ever. He's sharpening, like, a ginormous knife, like a fetching sword. He's like, I don't look
And I love Fassbender. He's like, your friend's not very precocious, is he? Is that what you're looking for, the precocious type?
Yeah, like, every single scene in this is just, like, you learn so much about each character, and each character is just, like, so unique, and I just love it.
It's great.
Yeah, and when the guy said at the very end, I think this is my masterpiece, I don't think he could have said it any better. I was just going to ask everybody which Quentin Tarantino is your favorite. It's got to be this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely this. And then
so
I would say
Django
maybe second.
Django's your second? I was tossed up between Django and Pulp Fiction. I think Pulp Fiction is my second favorite. How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I'd say Django, then Pulp Fiction.
Oh, really? You say Django first? I think I would lean more toward Pulp Fiction than Django, but...
What about you, Matt? Yeah.
Oh, I would say Django. The thing with Quentin Tarantino movies what's it called? The Hollywood one, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I didn't really understand the setting at first because it was something that happened before my time, and so I was like, it was a lot of nostalgia, but yeah, Django Unchained. I think it's just something that you can just enjoy, and you don't have to really like learn anything about it. I guess slave trade is pretty.
It's honestly
common
very
knowledge,
similar. It's honestly very similar kind of plot idea to Inglourious Basterds because it's like talking about pretty much killing off people who were terrible people in the past. Because it's like talking about killing off slave owners, and so I think it's really funny that he knows it's a pretty safe thing to do. Like, there's very few people that are going to be against you when you're like killing off like the most probably hated people. Like in history.
It is funny. It's like
the
how
Nazis
do you get off
and then slave owners.
Violence? Yeah, it's like
gratuitous
violence in my movies. Well, I have to find the most deplorable human beings that no one has any issue with, which is interesting.
Well, and the Manson family too. They're
they were murderers. So a cult, and it's so funny because his earlier film, like Reservoir Dogs, your protagonists are all large part criminals, right? And even The Hateful Eight kind of returned to that where they're all despicable characters and you just kind of watch it so they all deserve it on each other. So I don't know. I think it's interesting that he goes back and forth where I guess the bigger, broader films like Django, Once Upon a Time, but his smaller contained films like Hateful Eight and Reservoir Dogs, it's like you have a group of all anti-heroes, so it's okay that they all do violence toward each other. Whereas the bigger outside films like this one, you have to have Nazis, you have to have the cover of cult members, murderous cult members, and you have to have slave owners. So it is interesting. I find that, because, again, how do you get by with gratuitous violence without being criticized too heavily? And in the end, I like Tarantino's defense where it's like, I make Kill Bill. Again, I actually have to say Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 may actually compete over... I don't know if over Django.
That's what I was thinking.
Those two.
I just remembered Kill Bill, and I think I would say that it's farther up there than Django for me.
Yeah, it is for Django for me, but I still don't know if it beats Pulp Fiction for me. I have a really special place in my heart for Pulp Fiction, but that I just find it so wonderful. And all these films, man, holy cow, he's got 9 films, right? He says he's only going to do 10 films. I just hope
Well,
he'll go.
and then
He'll keep
he wrote the
directing
script for
things
True
at
Romance.
least. Well, he wrote True Romance, but
I just hope he keeps writing at least.
yeah, that's what I was just about to say, Jordan. It's like, if we can't have him directing films, which I don't know if that's true or not, whether he actually will give it
Or maybe
up.
he wants to do TV or something.
Yeah, at least do something where it's like, right?
Please.
Or direct
Dude,
Star Trek.
He should.
Please.
Direct Star Trek.
No, dude, he should have directed the last season of Game of Thrones.
Dude, he was slated to direct a Star Trek movie, and I was like, that could have been the greatest thing. And then you had Danny Boyle directed James Bond. I was like, we would have had so many fun things, but why do I get the feeling that Rian Johnson ruined it for all independent filmmakers in Star Wars franchise? They're like, yeah, go ahead and do whatever you want to this IP, man. We're so powerful, you can't do anything wrong. And it turns out you can.
What, Solo?
And it's like, but
No,
like,
Last Jedi.
Trust Danny Boyle, trust Tarantino. They know what they're doing.
Solo was Ron Howard, right?
Could you imagine Reservoir Dogs dialogue on a Star Trek on the Enterprise? Like, that would be so freaking cool.
Spock and Captain Kirk banter.
Just talking about cheeseburgers, intergalactic cheeseburgers or something like that. It'd be so good. I'd watch the heck out of that.
It would have been a masterpiece.
What a masterpiece. Oh, man. Anyway, any final thoughts about this film real quick before we go into recommendation?
Perfect movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you guys recommend
Literally
this film?
put me in tears.
I would not. I would go above and beyond of recommending this film. I would recommend all of Tarantino's work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking about. I mean, his biggest stinker is Jackie Brown, and even that's a pretty remarkable movie. There's
It's
a lot
good.
to enjoy. Yeah, it's still a good film.
Definitely
And it's
only
amazing
watch
when you're
Quentin's
saying
movies,
that's his
though.
worst film.
If you love
What's that?
violence as much as we do.
That's fair. I don't think there's a single film of his that doesn't have violence.
Yeah.
So
Kill
if
Bill's
you're
pretty
sensitive-
moderate. They only had to turn it black and white because of how much blood there was. What the fuck?
I always think about Reservoir Dogs too. I'm like, oh, that's not that violent, and then I forget they literally torture a cop and cut off his ear, and I was like, oh yeah, that happens. But I always forget that somehow.
Yeah, but you don't actually see it. They pan away
which is
while
such
he's doing it. It's just
brilliant tactic, because
But you still-
your imagination is
yeah.
so much worse than what could actually
so
be going
much
on.
worse.
Yes.
It's the Jaws, Steven Spielberg Jaws effect. It's like, it's scarier when you don't see it, honestly.
Oh yeah.
But let's be real, you still see his freaking face. I'm deformed. Yeah, you still see it. It's so disturbing.
So good.
Yeah, so I would go a step further. I definitely recommend this film. I think all of us would recommend it. And just go above and beyond. Watch all of Tarantino's films. He's one of the greatest independent filmmakers of all time, if not the greatest independent.
I don't know. I watched this with Tyler though. Not this. Sorry, Django. And Tyler's like, it feels like a 14-year-old directed this, and I'm like, I wanted to slap him so hard.
I think you guys actually watched Transformers.
Yeah, you got your labels switched up.
He just said he's like, the characters seem so cheesy and over the top and dumb, and I'm just like,
Yeah, I think he's still talking about Transformers.
Like, that's my favorite
To his
part.
credit, though, in Django, I do think that there's some of that, but
there's a lot of that. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
but
that's
again,
Quentin's style is over the top.
Yeah,
Like
I
he's,
think so.
he's not one for moderation
yeah.
at all.
Watch Kill Bill.
The
and watch
final
the
scene
with
in
Pai Mei.
Django Unchained when they're shooting through the guy's leg and he's like, ah, and they're like shooting through him. I'm like, what am I watching?
The best part in Django is when he's like, say bye to whatever her name is, and he shoots her like diagonally, and she flies like
Yeah, she flies
Straight
sideways.
back into the room.
so good.
And then he shotguns him
Yeah.
like through the bookcase or whatever. That was insane.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well, I love the physical humor. I don't know. He just he can stick to watching Cobra Kai for the rest of his life.
Yeah. He's like, it doesn't have enough karate. Oh man, no. But any last thoughts you wanted to say about Inglourious Bastards?
10 out of 10.
Perfect movie.
10 out of 10,
Absolutely.
for sure. Well, we end every podcast, Matt, by sharing movies that we've seen lately and movies that we're looking forward to seeing. Why don't you hit us off if you have a list prepared? If not, we can go to Jordan and Cameron first.
Me and my fiance, we bought a TV, and so we're trying to watch my favorite movies, because I do have a list of my favorite movies. It is a total of 47 movies. The first being Interstellar and the last being Gone Girl, and so that's our list. So
Oh, dang.
So we,
And
That's a
one
good
of,
list.
One of Matt's top films is Blade Runner 2049, Jordan. So you two would get along.
and that's
So good.
that's the movie that we just watched. So Blade Runner for 2049 comes in at number 4, but I had her watch number 1 first. So we watched number 1. She loved it. It was great. And then we watched Blade Runner 2049, and it was just it's just amazing. I just love it, and every time I watch it, I just oh my goodness. I wish I could go back and watch it in the theater though. So amazing. But we watched that one. Those two fantastic movies. She loved both of them. We watched The Dark Knight recently. She loved that one as well. I mean, what else have we watched?
Matt, you'll have to send me your
It's really
list.
fun
I
watching
really
that
wanna listen. I want to hear your list.
I can.
It's really fun watching those movies too with people that haven't seen them, because
yeah.
it's just like,
And that's the reason. Like, I've watched these.
Look how good
movies-
film can be.
Exactly. I've watched these movies like, so many times. I mean, Interstellar. I could
Yeah.
watch that movie in my head. I've watched it so many times, which is actually what I would do when work was boring. Before my mission, I would just watch Interstellar in my head, and I would get about 20 minutes in, but and then my mind would wander. But I could do it if I really focused. I could do it. But watching it with someone who hasn't seen them before, there's something different about it. You're constantly looking at them like, did you see that? Did you? Oh my gosh!
Did you just see the thing that I just saw? Did you understand it
Exactly
in the context that I understood it? Yeah,
and that's
I'm the same way, dude.
It's so fun, and especially with someone that you just love so much. So it's just awesome.
Way to flex on all the single people, okay? Knutson just recently got engaged, so he needs to flex as much as possible the fact he has a fiance.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys can see it. See her.
She's been listening this whole time.
This whole
Oh,
time.
you're a trooper. I don't know who you are, but
They say that you're a trooper.
all right. And any movies that you're looking forward to seeing?
Matt, is there anything you're looking forward to?
Anything I'm looking forward to seeing? Well, the next movies that are on the list, we've got Shawshank Redemption. That's the next, which I love. And then I've really been wanting to show her.
You look funny
Rogue.
with no teeth. Okay, that was really dark. I'm sorry. I love that quote for some reason.
I love it.
It's just such a threatening quote. Cut me out, Jordan. That was so inappropriate. But anyway, I just love that.
And
He's
then-
like, it's the warden, right? He's like joking with him. Sorry if I spoiled it, but
Oh,
anyway.
I love that. I love that movie.
Love that movie.
So good. And then I'm really excited to watch Logan again, because that movie's so good. It's actually very. It sounds kind of dumb, but it is a movie about fatherhood, which I love. But it's just amazing. It perfectly it tied together a failed franchise. I'd say failed because it just they were kind of cheesy and they didn't get it.
A lot of
traction
moving
that they
parts.
needed. But Logan is just perfect, and it just I absolutely love that movie. So I'm excited.
Not to
watch
mention
that
it fulfills the prophecy of Made in Wolverine, or the Wolverine, of him dying with his heart in his hand. And his heart isn't his actual physical heart like an end of the Wolverine movie, but it's actually his daughter! Ah!
Love it.
That was great. I love that. Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
so we hit an hour, so you can stop the recording and send it to us if you need to get going.
But if you want to just stay on and listen to all of our recommendations and movies that we've watched lately, you're welcome to stick around.
No pressure.
Jordan always
to,
thinks
Matt.
that our guests want to get off the podcast as soon as possible.
We know your
Well,
fiance.
but he does have a girl waiting on him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she's.
Tell her she can wait.
She's-
I don't see a ring yet.
Oh, I do. I got one.
Oh, okay. I guess your fiance's with rings. There you go.
Fiancés
Promises
with
to each other
rings.
already.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was awesome. With this is a good time. I love talking about movies with anybody. So this is awesome.
Yeah, great to hear from you. And we want to hear the rest of your 47 movies next time, all right?
I'll send
Yeah.
it with the email to Cameron. I'll send the list
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect.
Hey,
Yeah,
and the
please
audio.
don't forget to
Brother.
stop the audio and then just email it to me.
for sure.
Peace
Alright,
and blessings,
perfect.
brother. Take it
See
easy.
you
Thanks, Matt.
guys.
Love you, dude.
Love it.
Peace.
All right. So let's go into Cameron. What movies have you seen lately, and what are you looking forward to watching?
Recently, my roommates have been rewatching all the Star Wars, so I rewatched Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the
Dude,
Sith.
does that movie hold up? I haven't seen it since I was like a teenager.
Yeah, so it used to be it was actually my highest rated Star Wars film because it was my favorite. I rewatched that one like 900 times as a kid, and rewatching it does not hold up. Holy mother. I still keep it as a 6 because I love it. Like that, I used to rewatch that final fight, like the scene in the arena. I used to rewatch that scene, just rewatch it. It's just there's so many cool things that happen. But yeah, it's cheesy as can all be, and the dialogue in that, poor Hayden Christensen.
One thing that bothered me was every time that dolphin-headed freak dinosaur Jedi jumps and like confronts Dooku, Jango just shoots him twice and he falls to his death. Like,
It just goes out like a bee.
He just goes out like a bee. He shows up. He's so bad at looking. He's got a lightsaber. He's got it poised, and then he just gets shot twice and falls to his death.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Well, Django kind of goes out like a bee too. Mace Windu's just like yeet and just cuts off his head, and you're like, oh snap.
I mean, I don't know if he went like a bee, but Mace Windu, dude, when he's running out with a purple saber. You know, who was it? I remember them saying like Mace Windu didn't have. He's like, I want the saber to be purple, and they made it so. It was like they didn't exist.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely,
like,
yeah.
I
Because
want a purple
do you
saber.
know why
And
he
they're
wanted
like,
to do that? He did that because he wanted when his kids watched the show for them to be able to identify him out of everybody. I'm like, what a narcissistic but dope thing to say.
Dude,
I don't want to be like all the other
Samuel L. Man,
Jedis. I want to
do
be
that, dude.
different. As if it's not different enough that he's the only black Jedi. He has to have a purple lightsaber too.
Not to mention he's the most bad A of all the Jedi combined.
Oh, he's
dude.
the best.
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
Easily.
so freaking cool.
But he also is like low-key single-handedly the only reason why Darth Vader became Darth Vader, because Mace Windu was like so like mean and like such a douche to fetching Anakin and not explaining anything. Like no wonder Anakin's like, but yeah, I'm gonna freaking betray you.
Cameron's like, it's all Mace Windu's fault.
It is, dude.
Anakin, strike him down, please. I'm too weak.
And then
No,
watched.
Hayden Christensen is still a whiny little twerp. So
And then
that's not Mace
watched
Windu's fault.
Revenge of the Sith. It's definitely the best of the prequels. And then
Better than the second, honey.
Yeah.
I just called you honey.
Honey.
Better than the second, honey. Sweetie.
And then I rewatched. I was at a cabin with some friends, and we watched Get Smart. All of us were really underwhelmed and disappointed. I remember loving that movie as a teenager, but holy cow, that movie does not
the
hold
best
up.
rewatch.
Because I remember the first time watching it, the whole what do you think? What I was thinking, the holy shiz, this spearfish almost went through my face. The first time I watched it, I was dying laughing, and I watched it and I was just like, There's just a lot of jokes that like I just didn't hit home for me, and I was just kind of like, dang, I was a little disappointed that I rewatched it. I mean, it was only at a 7 before, but I dropped it down to a 6. I was just like, I still laughed, but just not the same.
Dude, the best scene is Bill Murray in the tree, dude. That's still my favorite scene. He's just like, communications out, they got me in a tree. He's like, hey, I'll come back by here. What time? It's like, oh, I get it. Nobody wants to talk to the guy in the tree. That's the best scene of the whole movie. That gets me to laugh. But yeah, you're right. I wish they had more Bill Murray. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then my roommates have been watching a lot of episodes of Psych recently, and holy cow, I just love Sean and Jules. They're just combo. But Ty mentioned it, I think a couple podcasts ago I was listening to, how Psych isn't as rewatchable as like The Office, and it's kind of true, because like 15 minutes in I'll always remember, oh, that person's a villain. But I mean, it's kind of a similar thing with New Girl. And
Same
also
thing with Scooby-Doo Mysteries. Just saying.
and also like with Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girls, like the only reason usually I will watch, like I'll keep grinding on those, is because of like the protagonist love story that's going on, and so that's kind of like what kept me going through those. Is I was like, I just can't wait for like Jules and Sean to get together, because they're just such an awesome couple. And then
Or Jim and Pam.
Yeah. And then I've been watching a lot of Daredevil as well. Holy cow, the Punisher is such a baller. Dude, what's his name from The Walking Dead?
Have you started the Punisher TV show yet?
No, once I finish Daredevil, we are gonna. It's so good, because the Daredevil, the Punisher comes into season 2 of Daredevil, and they actually fight, and like they're on a team and yet fighting. It's so sick.
Have you finished season 2 yet?
No, we have like 3 episodes left.
Okay, because that last episode, have you seen that really long one take? Have they done that yet?
No.
Okay.
And then also, oh man, so I recently hit my it was my 930th. It was my 900th film watched, but then I went back and found that there was a couple movies that I hadn't rated. So now I'm at 933 because my goal is to hit 1,000 as soon as possible. Hopefully before my birthday, but I don't know if that's going to be happening. And my freaking 900th movie I watched was Twilight, the first one. Holy cow, that movie is a dumpster fire. It's my top 10 worst movies of all time. The dialogue in that, everything, the acting.
Hang on. I'm going to do my best impression of Kristen Stewart. Why can't you see how perfectly happy I am?
Dude, I was joking. I was
you.
joking that what's her name? Kristen Stewart is just like dead, sleepwalking Emma Watson. I'm like, if people thought for people
Did you watch them all, Cameron, or just the first one?
just the first one. I don't know if I could do them all.
Oh, dude, the last one with the CGI baby,
Yeah.
and then
It's
that.
an
Those,
Hey, wait, Jordan, was that a fake? Was that a fake? That prosthetic baby, the mechanical, was that
animatronic
real or
baby
was that just a
will-
fake?
yeah,
haunt my
no, there's video
nightmare.
of it, Ty. There's video of the animatronic baby. You know when the CGI baby touches her face, like the animatronic baby's touching her face.
No way.
I will send you video.
I need to find that and watch it because everyone gave so much crap for the CGI, but after that image you sent me, it haunted me. I'm so haunted.
Yeah, I will never ever judge their decision to watch.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
to
they made
keep
the right
that.
choice with the CGI baby. If that
Oh,
was their
100%.
alternative, why would they just get a real
100%.
kid in there? Oh my gosh!
So they should have used the puppet. Oh, I'm crying.
Yeah, and yeah, that's my goal is to hit 1,000 movies rated before the end of the year. So still got
Dude,
6 or
at
7
your rate,
left
you're
to
gonna
go.
get it.
7 more movies. Wow, Jordan, how about you, man? What have you seen lately, and what are you looking forward to?
So I watched JSA, which is Joint Security Area. It's a movie by Park Chan-wook, which he did Old Boy, Thirst, which are movies I want to do on the pod eventually. But it's also got your actor from the main guy from Parasite. He is such a good actor, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that was really cool too. Remember that insight?
It's the same guy from Memories of Murder.
He's also in Memories of Murder, yes.
Well, what's great about that? He's like a renowned Korean actor. But what was really cool is
Amazing.
when they had the son telling the father how to act when they were infiltrating the family in Parasite. That's kind of a cool meta moment where imagine like seeing like a young actor like Tom Holland telling like someone like Jack Nicholson, right? Like how to act. It would be like a moment where you'd be like, oh, that's really funny because this is like a renowned veteran actor that has some young pup telling his father how to act. And anyway, I just thought that was cool. Someone pointed that out to me, so I'd be interested to watch that. Send me.
Well,
the
I need
movie.
to memorize his name because I don't have it memorized yet. But I just bought another film of his called Taxi Driver, and I'm super excited to watch it. I just love anything he does. His performance, he just steals the screen.
Yeah.
Unbelievably good.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else I'm watching right now, but I'm looking forward to. Ty gave me false hope and said there was a trailer for Craig Zahler's new movie, which it's not. That trailer you showed me, Run, Hide, Scream, or whatever it's called.
Oh, Run,
Anyways,
Hide, Fight.
that's
Yeah. Well, no, it was produced by the guy that did Drag to Cost.
it's not produced. I looked it up.
It
He didn't
is.
produce it. It's not. Look it up.
Slow down. The guy that produced Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Oh, the guy that produced Brawl.
Yes, and
Okay,
Drag to
well,
Cross
you said the
Concrete.
director.
What?
Okay, I was very confused. Anyways, I understand now.
So yeah, it's the producer. So it has a similar style and feel to a lot of the things. It's like watching, I don't know, Christopher Nolan. When you watch Man of Steel, he produced it and wrote most of it. So it's like it has a Christopher Nolan-y feel, but it's still directed ultimately by Zack Snyder. So anyway, I digress.
Zack.
It has a feel similar to the films that he's done. It's like tangentially related. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it was just like I didn't even know about this movie's existence. I was like, hey, let's keep our eyes out for it. It just looked interesting.
Well, anyways, you got me false hope. I am excited though for Craig Zahler's
I went on the
new
podcast
movie.
knowing that Ty got my hopes up and dashed them into a million pieces.
Yeah, well, because he is coming out with a new movie, and I'm very excited about it, but I don't know when that'll be, when it's coming out. But I cannot wait for it because I love all his films. Every single one is I mean, it has everything I love. The really gruesome violence, and then it's got some really funny moments.
It's got everything I love. Really gruesome violence, and that's it. Oh my gosh,
No.
get some help, Jordan. All right, anything else you're looking forward to seeing?
I can't think of anything right now.
All right, well, so since I was on the podcast, I've been a busy bee. I've gotten to watching movies. I have a new iPad now. It was a gift from work. Thanks, work. And I've been watching all kinds of movies. So I watched Soul a few days after you guys reviewed it on the podcast, and I thought I should watch this movie before I hear you guys discuss it, because I know you guys will be talking heavy spoilers, and I'm glad I did. All I could think of, and now I'm actually glad I wasn't on the pod because I had a super dark thought. If you guys don't want to hear my dark thought, just skip this podcast for the next 20 seconds because I'm about to say something super dark. So imagine after all that time spent helping 22 find her personality and her purpose and meaning in life, her spark, if she gets to Earth and she's just about to go about Earth and enjoying her experience in life and the joy of living, and she's aborted 20 seconds after she gets to planet Earth.
Oh my gosh. Dark.
I love that. That's such a funny joke.
That's so sad. It's not even funny. It's that sad. Anyway, Premortal Life. Cool idea.
Yeah.
Storyboarders. That's the thing with Disney and Pixar. It's they got some Latter-day Saints in that room, and they're pitching ideas hey, this is brilliant. It's you're just using Mormon doctrine. Not a lot of people are privy to. So really clever. But it was a wonderful movie.
Oh, really quick, Ty. Yeah. I finished Cobra Kai, so we can talk about it finally on the podcast.
Yes, okay.
I think we should almost do a whole separate episode. Maybe,
we should.
A short.
I just briefly wanted to talk about a few things, but So one thing, I had one nitpick about Soul, and two actually. I was just going to mention did the cat run off the treadmill? On his way to heaven, because they were going up the staircase and the cat was on the staircase, and then he ends up going back into his body for inexplicably. I don't know why he didn't learn his lesson and realize that he had a life well fulfilled. Cameron, you said it perfect. I'm so glad that you were there to represent me. I didn't understand. He learned that his life was well lived, and then he's I get a second chance at living life again. It's what for? You lived life. You saw the montage we all did. All the memories you had. That was life.
And then you made the eternal sacrifice of passing up your opportunity to go back. And that's when you're the character arc and the character development.
Yeah. And I didn't think it would be a bad ending or peeing on whatever his name was, Steve's.
Joe.
Is it Steve? I can't. Joe, right. I knew it was a common name. It wasn't going to piss on Joe's experience. It was just acknowledging that he had served a meaningful life. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, that was my plot point or critique was okay, so the cat goes back into its soul. Was it on its way to the stairway to heaven, the great beyond or whatever? Anyway, another nitpick, the mysterious beyond, it sounds like a bug zapper. The spirits or the souls that go into it, they just get zapped and we're never heard from again. Okay? Now, my nitpick is I want to see what's on the other side of that bug zapper, or that's just it. I think they just zap the souls and it's over.
I love it.
That's why the being wants to, the count was off. He's everyone dies at one point or just ceases to exist, man.
I think it's kind of oxymoronic because it's saying there's life after death, but then it's the life after death is nothing. It's the life after death is the conveyor belt into another
separated.
death.
You're already separated from your body, and then you're going to go on and do another separation from something. It literally sounded like a bug zapper. They sounded like they were being fried. They were. It's it's that was horrifying. If I was Joe,
or maybe it's the blob. They're just being absorbed.
What's that?
I said maybe it's the blob where they're just being absorbed.
Yeah, just becoming a giant mass in the sky. Anyway, that was one of my critiques that I had about it. But again, I love the film. Super sweet and touching. Love the idea of living your life and the things that you love doing and the things that you're really good at, the spark. That's not your purpose in life. I thought that was really clever because I think a lot of people can let life pass them by thinking well, I'm not doing the thing that I love most. It was no, but think about all the times that you shared what you love doing most with your friends and family. I would love to do podcasts for a living, just talk about movies, but I can't make money doing it because I'm not as good as any of the other podcasters. I don't have connections. Maybe one day, though, we'll grow organically. Donate to the movie. Donate to my account. My account number is this. Anyway, I would definitely recommend Soul. It's a great movie.
Oh, and then the other movie I saw really quick, mentioning Soul, I saw Don't Tell a Soul, and I I thought about doing it on the podcast the first half, but then there's this big twist, and I'm like, oh, geez. This film got very different very quick. Yeah. It's very fun. I still recommend watching it, but I don't know if it's like, should we talk about it? I don't know.
I'll be interested. I saw that, and I was thinking about watching it, but I watched a few other movies. I think you'll be happy that I watched, Jordan. So I watched Tenet again. Holy shnikes. I stand by it. That film is better on each rewatch.
So good.
That movie is incredible. Incredible. It is.
Did I already talk about? I rewatched it too.
Phenomenal. When's the last time I was out on the podcast?
Oh, Cassie's actually excited. Moms. One of them said they're like, I don't hear Ty say it anymore. I miss it.
I'm very selective. Tenet is a phenomenal movie. It's going to be a masterpiece.
Ty, how many times have you seen it?
I've only seen it twice, my friend.
Yeah, me too.
The second watch is super good.
Isn't it?
Like,
yes.
The second watch just
So
helps
good.
you because, like, if you know what the end in mind, especially in a film like Tenet, because it's the same thing with Inception. Knowing the end in mind, it may have such a greater appreciation for that opening scene. Because then I'm like, holy cow, Christopher Nolan's making a huge like foreshadow to what's going to happen later in the film of being stuck down there. And so that like the first watch is just all just boom over my head. Not
Also,
understanding what
J.D.
the F is
Washington
happening.
is so freaking bad. I'm sorry,
Ty.
he is so freaking cool. Oh my
So
gosh,
I watched-
Cheese grater, man.
I watched.
Just smashing him, dude.
I watched this with my roommate thinking he would like it, dude. And he just, at the end, he was like, that was it. And I'm like, I wanted to punch him in his face. I was so mad.
That was
But-
it, dude.
Yeah. And
What?
he's like, and then everybody else is like, I don't understand any of it. Except he's like, what do you not understand? That was the easiest film I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, what the fudge?
Maybe he's part of a temporal pincer, and he's coming back on his way through life, the opposite direction. Who knows?
No,
right?
he's really good at catching details because he did understand most everything. But it was
Helps
afterwards
with
he
subtitles,
explained.
by the way. I watched it with subtitles this time, so I caught every line of dialogue that I missed in the movie theater. So, and I don't know if they
That's kinda
fixed
funny.
that
Yeah, but
on release because I had no problems hearing everything, even though I had the subtitles on the second time. So
The pitch
Maybe
meeting,
my
the
iPad's
pitch
just super
meeting,
great.
which is like a YouTube channel that kind of makes fun of stuff like that or whatever. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna tell you the plot synopsis." And he just plays this blaring music, and he's telling me, he's like, I can't hear what's happening." And then he does it for like 35 seconds, and then after he's like,
Moving on.
and then it ends, and he's like, "I don't know what happened." He's like, "But it's gonna be directed by Christopher Nolan." Okay, we'll let
Okay.
it go.
well, let's go for it. That's so funny. So I watched Tenet again. So good. Red and blue.
So good.
Love it. Okay. I watched Mandalorian season 2. Have you guys seen Mandalorian season 2?
Yes.
Yes, Ty. We were waiting for you to watch
Can
it.
I spoil it on this podcast?
What
Yes.
about
Luke Skywalker showing up to train Baby Yoda, and when he wasn't talking, it was great. When he talked, freaked me out a little bit. Again,
When he
seeing
talked, it
someone
reminded me of
de-aged.
Jedi Academy.
Dude, that whole
Rosh.
thing reminded me of Jedi Academy.
Rosh.
It's Luke from that era. He's like, I'll train Baby Yoda. I have so many questions now. Like, does Baby Yoda die under Luke's care? Does it go on without Luke?
No, Ty. They've announced that they're going to redo all the Star Wars. This new trilogy. They're going to redo it with that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're going to redo those 3 movies that we keep making fun of.
Oh, the Rey trilogy? The Rey and Kylo trilogy?
Yeah,
They're redoing
they're gonna redo that and then actually have like
If-
Baby
okay,
Yoda.
if they're
I
to
don't think
redo
gonna
anything,
it.
redo
They're
the
just going to do
prequels.
3 movies that are... Right? I mean, are they actually redoing
I don't
them?
know. That's what I've heard. I don't know.
I don't believe it. I'm sure they're going to have another trilogy. Like, that's not in question. They'll have another 3-part saga of a story. I could see them taking people's favorite, like Luke, to Luke,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like, Luke existed right before. So it could be like a trilogy between...
And that's the
Baby
thing,
Yoda,
is like,
Jon Favreau,
I didn't
so-
have the biggest gripe like a lot of people did. They're like, that was the dumbest thing ever. But like, at the same time, it's like, just get a young actor who looks similar to Luke and everyone will be happy.
Yes.
It's like, obviously,
With
the
the
CGI,
CGI bull
I
crap.
have no problem
great.
with that. Like I said, yeah, my it was a nitpick. I love seeing Luke, and I love.
Yeah.
I think the de-aging is incredible. Like, they've come such a long way. This is TV. That's the
They're
thing that
not there
people don't
yet.
realize. That is TV production. Again, I mean, you watched the Force or was it the Rise of Skywalker? I can't even remember how forgettable their movie titles are. The Rise
I
of
still
Skywalker.
need to watch that.
Mark Hamill's face when he's young, de-aged, that looks incredible. And then Leia was the only one that kind of didn't look exactly right, but I'm like, it's still very,
Yeah, dude, my
very
roommates were
impressive.
watching Rogue One, and Grand Moff Tarkin looks totally fine. Like, I had no, like...
It's distracting.
Jordan,
it's a little watch it again, though, Cameron. The first time I watched it, I didn't notice it. I tried to watch the movie again, and I was like, holy, that guy is CGI. But I didn't notice it the first time, to its credit, yeah.
Ty, what was Martin Scorsese's film that they CGI'd all their faces?
Oh, Irishman.
Ugh, that was distracting too. Why do they keep de-aging people? Just use young actors.
Yeah. We could get watch Godfather and be like, oh wow, you can have Robert De Niro and Marlon Brando, and both can be great actors, and you still understand the story, and you get twice as many actors out of it. Come on, dude.
Yes.
You know how much of a proponent I am to stop de-aging actors and also stop bringing actors back from the dead and making them say things. I think it's a super evil moral thing to do, like a objectively evil moral thing to do. I think it's very objectionable. But anyway, that's just me. Like, oh, he loved being a Nazi in all of his films. He probably would have said these things if he was alive. It's like, let him rest in peace, okay? We have millions of actors lining up for work, man. Anyway, whatever. So season 2, that was super fun. And Asaka, or whatever her name is.
Ahsoka.
I never watched the thing. I thought she was so freaking cool. The
She's so
lightsabers,
badass.
her double white, that was so freaking cool. And the spear. That was super awesome. That whole side story. I was like, why isn't this the Mandalorian? I was like, just follow her.
Ahsoka was trained by Luke Skywalker. I mean, by Anakin Skywalker. She was his
It was
Padawan.
so much fun to watch. Yeah, it was so much fun to watch. Her story was awesome. And then I started the first 2 episodes of WandaVision, which is kind of fun. Starts off like a I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke spinoff, but then it turns into like kind of Bewitched in the second episode.
Yeah.
It's super weird. It's like, because obviously they're training up to something like she's trapped in this world, but kind of hope they would get to it by now. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
like,
me
to me, the
too.
gimmick's kind of wearing out. Like, I already get it. This is like a fake world that she's in, right? So it's like, skip to
I was
the
like,
end.
I know. I was like, if I want to watch Bewitched, I'm gonna watch Bewitched.
Yeah,
like,
right. And in the end, it was still very well done, but it's like,
Yeah.
I thought too much of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, making fun of laugh tracks, because again, I don't watch shows with laugh tracks. You guys know my history with shows. I can't stand them. Even though when I was a kid, I thought Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was the greatest show on Disney. But
Drake and
after
Josh.
Kim
Drake
Possible,
and Josh was up there.
Drake and Josh, again, another sitcom. Thought it was very funny. But for example, was Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide Nickelodeon, right? Was that a laugh track or not? I don't think it had a laugh track. That's why it was so good. See, just throwing it out there. That was a great show. Okay,
What about Mr.
probably
Meaty?
wouldn't hold up to the day. Yeah, because it's like watching Star Wars: The Attack of the Clones, Cameron. As an adult, you're like,
I know, I'm like, oh man, like
Force
every
is
single.
so strong in this one.
I'm just like, what the fudge is this?
And then I was like, dude, that inspired District 9, so don't crap on it. Same aliens, dude. Okay, so I also watched a movie called Conspiracy Theory. We talked about it on another episode of the podcast. Super crazy funny. I'm just thinking about Mel Gibson and his eyes taped open. So funny. I watched an amazing movie called Network. Cameron, have you seen this movie?
The Social Network.
Watched it, Ty?
I watched Network, not Social Network, which is an amazing film.
I'm mad as.
I'm mad as and I'm not going to take this anymore. You have meddled with the forces of nature and you will atone. Cameron, you need to see this film.
Wait, Ty. What my favorite scene, and it's the segment I rewatch it all the time, is the opening scene when he says he's gonna blow his brains out, and everybody in the studio is like, "What did he say?"
What did he just
and all of
say?
a sudden, and then they try to pull him out, and he's like punching him, and they like try to pull him off the air. Best scene
Dude,
ever.
Cameron,
Was it made in
watch
1976?
Network. Yeah, it's the old film. And Cameron, watch this film. I'm not going to tell you anything about it except if you liked that, I would compare this to Nightcrawler. But I mean, it's nothing like Nightcrawler. But to me,
Don't compare
the
it to
feeling I
Nightcrawler,
get when
Cameron.
watching it is a lot like Nightcrawler for some reason.
No, don't compare it to that.
All right, I'll
Cameron.
go in with zero expectations, not expecting it to be a Nightcrawler.
Yeah,
It's not.
You guys need to
it's
stop
not
comparing-
like Nightcrawler. I'm
No,
just saying it's.
Don't
it's,
compare him
it's,
to my favorite movie. Jordan's what made me go and watch Memory of Murder, and he's like, it's literally Zodiac, except maybe better. And I watched it, I was like, 100% was not better than Zodiac, but obviously it's very similar. But it's a
I
great
should clarify.
film.
Network does not star Jake Gyllenhaal.
It's better.
Your man crush, okay? So.
Not even close, Jordan. You're smoking freaking cocaine, bro. Literally, Zodiac is the best film of all time.
No, it's not.
We don't have to tell you the truth. We will tell you anything you want to hear. Just watch Network, Cameron. It is so good. Watched Inglourious B. And then I watched The Servant, episode 1 and maybe 2. No, I think just the first episode of Servant, season 2. The M. Night Shyamalan show.
I started that
it's
too.
It's kind of silly, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love anything that Shyamalan's
Me too.
doing. I'm a Shyamalan apologist. Although, no, what he did to Last Airbender is unforgivable. What I'm saying is, give the guy more work. Keep giving him work. He'll make his way back.
Give him more stuff like fetching Split. Holy cow.
Split was great, yeah. And Servant is kind of in that vein. Have you seen any of The Servant, Cameron? Watch the first season. It's kind of fun. At least the first episode. You should watch the first episode.
First episode is so good.
If you don't like the first episode, stop watching. But I love it, and I kept watching it. So I'm watching The Servant season 2. It's just fun to see Rupert Grint, Ron Weasley perform in movies or in show
No way,
and
he's
acting.
in
And
And his American accent. Oh, jeez.
it's a little funny, but I like his character so much that I
I like his. I love his character.
Yeah, his character's so great. So watch that. And Jordan, I watched a special movie called The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Yes.
Holy
yes!
shit! I didn't know what to expect with this movie. I thought
We
it
need to
would
do
be
a mini episode.
I thought it was gonna be like Hold the Dark by Blue Ruin Dude, but this was like, it reminded me of Wind River, which is an amazing movie by Jeremy Renner. Have you guys seen Wind River?
You told me that I need to watch it. So.
You need to watch Wind River. Now that I've watched your movie, watch Wind River, and you'll be like, oh, no wonder Ty loved Wolf of Snow Hollow, and you'll love Wind River so much.
If you like Wolf of Snow Hollow, the guy directed a movie that I think is better than Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Oh, yeah?
And it's his first movie. It's called Thunder Road.
I loved it. I think that what's really good is it's a metaphor for how fathers want to protect their daughters
main actor
from wolves.
is the
That's what it
director
was.
and writer.
Yeah. And he acted, yeah. Dude,
He is so strange. This is the strangest film, Cameron. I don't know what to say. It reminds me of it, and
Looks like
it was
Fargo.
like, did you know the boyfriend was from American Vandal, Jordan?
No, but...
He was the high schooler that gets framed for spray painting all over the cars.
Oh.
He's the boyfriend. He's the dim-witted guy, and he's the funny boyfriend. Oh, he's the boyfriend. You know, his girlfriend died. He's the first victim's boyfriend. He's from American Vandal, which is a hilarious true crime Netflix series. If you haven't watched it, Cameron, look up American Vandal. It is so funny.
I've never seen it either.
It is laugh out loud funny. If you want a comedy, look up American Vandal. It makes fun of all the true crime Netflix documentaries that came out, you know, how to make a murderer and stuff like that. It's like a satire of those, and it's so funny. So they hilarious quotes from this movie. It's just like the lady walking around. It's like, I was told there's a chemical spill. Are my dogs gonna be okay? And he goes, what's she talking about? He's like, I told her there was a chemical spill. He's like, get out of here. I freaking love the police chief is so funny. He is so funny. He's like, yeah, I told her that. Okay. They're so, he goes, do you know how many people die of tobacco in Utah? And he goes, okay, you know that pepper spray I got you for your birthday? Yes. You need to keep it on with you at all times. I don't know. I thought that was so funny. There's another scene too. I don't, what I'm saying is not making any sense. You need to watch this movie. Oh yeah. And then when he tells the officer, he goes, officer, if you find who did this, don't arrest them. Shoot him. Shoot him till you see the ground through his face. It's like, holy shit. Oh my gosh. That was so awesome. Heart's fine. What does he say? He goes, heart's fine. And the doctor's there and he goes, it's a heart murmur. And he's like, get out of here. That's ageism. He's like, I want you to tell you a theory about a hunter without a license. Come here. Tell me the theory about a hunter without a license did this. He goes, I think it was a hunter without a license. He goes, you're bad at your job. You should have stayed in computer programming. You're a bad police officer. That was so funny. You should have pursued computer science. That's what he says. Yeah. I love it. And then another final scene is just when she's on the phone and she's just like, it sounds like he's he's just like, it sounds like he's it's the guy's breathing on the phone. He's like he's calling it. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. But anyway, An amazing analogy of fathers protecting their daughters from the predatory wolves that are coming in to move on their daughters. Such a great analogy.
Dude, that
Great
ending
movie.
too. Like, don't spoil it, but
Yeah, we
I
won't
think we
spoil
should
it.
do a mini episode. I think we should.
And Cameron, all the quotes I said, they're not even funny. I just love seeing. And now that I've seen the movie, I don't even believe I'm reading these quotes from the movie. It is that good. So
So good.
loved it. I was pleasantly surprised. So now I'm going to check out his other film. What was it called, Jordan?
Thunder Road, and it was YMS that recommended him.
Is that one? Is it available, or we have it?
I own it.
Nice, Thunder Road. I'll be watching that tonight. I'll start it. Oh, and I started the first half of Fear, starring Mark Wahlberg. What a dumb movie. So dumb. So dumb. I just saw it and I was looking for something to do while I was on my walk this morning, and I watched the first half of it and I'm like, this movie's so stupid. Mark Wahlberg, dude. Holy cow. How does that guy get acting? How does that guy get any job? How does he get work these days? I mean, kudos to him. It's just so fun.
Dude, he's
Death by
amazing in a lot
Numbers.
of different things. I don't want to hear it. He's
Okay, so Death by Numbers is a movie with Sandra Bullock, and it's a serial killer movie. That's a good one.
Death by Numbers. Well, I gotta watch this Thunder Road first. All right, folks, write in your emails, Futro Hidden Movie Gems, write in your emails at futromovies@gmail.com. Leave us a 5-star review, share us your podcast with your friends and family, push it on them, and make them leave us a review too, so we can get cool people listening to this and maybe get monetized. Not! And you guys, take it easy, keep it real, and next week, what are we reviewing on the podcast? Do we know?
Oscar.
Oscar. What's Oscar?
Have you seen Oscar with Sylvester Stallone?
Yo, Adrian. No, I've not seen it.
Good. Cameron, have you seen it? Good. Okay, so Andrew's going to be on the podcast with us.
My name's Oscar.
Dude, and Ty, you cannot say Mark Wahlberg's not a good actor. The Departed, Deepwater Horizon, Daddy's Home, The Other Guys, Invincible, Italian Job, Pain and Gain. Come on, son.
These are all fun movies, but I don't think he's a good actor in any of them.
The
I'm saying those are
Departed?
amazing films. I think he's so over the top. He's cheesy and corny in that part. It's a great movie.
Are you
I'm
kidding
just saying
me?
he's not. I think of Leonardo
Two-Face!
DiCaprio and Matt Damon in that movie.
Oh, jeez.
I think you're a fake cop. The sound of your urine hitting the sound of your piss hitting the urinal sounds feminine. Freaking heck, dude. If I was a freaking lion, I swim out there and I eat you, and then I your tuna girlfriend.
Ty, my roommates are going to sleep. I gotta end this.
Oh, okay. Hey, peace and blessings for everyone tuning in to the podcast.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye.